Welcome back, everybody. So glad you could be with me here today. Walter, continuing the final initialization process for the 4.5 planes. And up till now, I have finished my Stanley 4.5, the 4.5 bedrock, the Soba, and the Wood River. I'm on to the Veritas. And this shouldn't need a whole heck of a lot. Trying to remember where I was last time. Do, 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 do. So I hope you're having a good day. This is starting to get exciting now. Getting down to the wire, so to speak. Okay. This has been a fun project, but to be quite honest with you, it will be also fun when it's done. That looks about right. All right. Let's get some fluid on there so we can keep the swarf from building up. There are so many words that we never knew existed. Like, for instance, to tinker with or to tune up something, I never knew that that was called fettling or to fettle. So what I'm looking for now is to see if there's any light on the edge. This is a PMV blade, so we're not going to get much of a wire edge. It doesn't do it quite the same as your A2 and O1 tool steels. So you just need to know that you have gone past your old edge and you're getting ready to start a new edge. So, fettle. So that means to adjust and tune up. After doing all this sharpening, I am beginning to feel like I need to save up my pennies for a Shapton stone. Something in the 10,000 to 16,000 grit. Why, you might ask, Walter? You've said that you can handle everything with 1,000 grit and a strop. I said, yes, I can. How do I want to explain this? I think it's more about speed. You know, 20 to 30 strokes on the strop on both sides is 20 to 30 strokes on both sides. All right, that should be done. Whereas if I had an 8 or 10 or 12 or 16,000 grit ceramic stone, which is fast cutting, it would be a matter of a few strokes and it would be done. So now I have established the bevel, and I have touched it up with the David Charlesworth ruler technique. So now I go to the strop, a little extra compound, bevel, and we give it the strokes. I have noticed the PMV, and this is another reason why I am considering possibly, if not a stone, then maybe some lapping film, because I already have glass and I already have a granite. The PMV does not strop the same as O1 and A2. It does not, at least in my experience, it does not take that same polish. Maybe I'm wrong. It's done. I can't make it any sharper. So that one's done. Stick with me. We'll get through the rest of these on this video. The next one's going to be a little tricky because it's a different cap iron. I am very impressed with this Veritas cap iron. It has the knurled screw on the bottom, not like the modern smooth ones. And I still like, you know me, I still like the cap irons with the bump. Now, this one, we want to get the frog set up so that the cutting edge so the mouth opening and the cutting edge are as tight as we can physically get them. And it looks like we're already there. Yeah, I think we're already there. Let's see if we can take a shaving. All right, we're taking shaving on the left, no shaving on the right. Shaving in the middle, shaving on the right. Back that up a little bit. It's heavy on the right. Still heavy. Still heavy. That's better. Thin on the left. Still heavy on the right. Okay. This Norris adjuster is very precise, but I'm not used to it. There we are. I want a really fine cut down the middle. That's just too thick. Gotta be thinner than that. There we are. All right, that's good enough for now, because what we're really going to be looking for is not on an edge like this, it's going to be on the surface. So that one's done. That one's ready to use. Now on to the Veritas Custom. How tight do I have that mouth? That's pretty tight already. So as you recall, you need the hex key to take the screw off. Don't lose the screw. And this one, let's see if we can go straight to the fine stone. If you have any questions, suggestions, or comments, put them down in the comment section. Visually, it looks, I don't see any light coming off of the edge. It looks sharp. Let's take a little bit extra off the corners. I'll take a little bit more off those corners. Because the whole goal of a smoothing plane is not to leave any plane tracks. That should be good enough. Clean the wheel, clean off the stone. I am still getting used to the PMV 11. Now, you can't quite do the complete David Charlesworth thing. We'll just be happy with that. That's that. And back on to stropping. So as you can see, sharpening is not the major deal that people make it out to be. You just need to come up with a protocol that you like and just stick to it every time. Now, I am going to the nth degree with these planes so that they all get a fair chance at shining. I don't like these short blades. There you have it. That is done. So, it's kind of interesting the way they came up with this cap iron setup. Very careful with that sharp edge when you put this all back together. Once again, back on the Norris adjuster. Close the hood. Finger tight. All right, what do we got? You have a super fine cut on the right. All right. A little heavy on the left. It looks about even all the way across. Let's see if we can back it out a little bit. All right, that's done. I still kind of wonder where I'm going to put this finger though. So the Veritas are done. Now for the Lie-Nielsen. Pop the hood. Blade set out. There is no work needed on the chip breaker. I will simply just run it across the strop just to make sure there's no burrs anywhere. As to the blade, I mean, that is super sharp already. There we go. And here too, I don't think we need to go to the coarse stone. Just about pulling a burr. That's one of the nice things about using a honing jig or a honing guide. As part of your protocol. If I were to set up a different sharpening station, I could, instead of just having lines that I'm setting up to, I could actually have the stop blocks. Hard to feel the burr with gloves on, but I do not see any light on the edge. I'm going to give it just a few more passes just to make sure. And that's done. Yeah, the burr is there. Like I said, with gloves on, it's hard to feel, but you can see it almost. Okay. Yep, that's done. It actually could use just a little finger pressure on that one edge. There we go. And strop. See, here's the other thing about stropping that I'm kind of thinking about the ceramic stones. The stropping can have a rounding effect on the edge. And when you're trying to do the back, trying to keep it flat, and just raising that ever so little bit at the very end, you wouldn't have that problem with a ceramic stone. And that's done. Beautiful cutting edge. When I set the blades up towards the cutting edge, I am not setting them so tight because we are closing the mouth down as well. If you do both, if you set your chip breaker too close, you set your chip breaker too close when you're closing down the mouth, you can get clogging. And I'm not talking about clogging as in country dancing or Irish clogging. I'm talking about clogging of shavings. And that is as tight as that needs to be. And this is one of the reasons why I like smooth sole planes as opposed to corrugated. It's much easier to see that cutting edge. All right, on the left. On the right. All right, looks like we've got that pretty well set. Cutting a little bit on the right, a little bit heavy on the left. Just a pinch. And there we go. The Lie-Nielsen is set. Lastly, and there was something about the Clifton that I did not measure. And that was the length and the width. 10 3/4 and nearly 3 inches wide. That makes this one the longest and widest of all the planes. Now, where are we with the mouth on this one? We gotta advance that one. I know it's a bedrock, and I don't have to do it with the blade out, but we're taking the blade out anyway. So might as well take a moment. And make the adjustment. Now you want to keep in mind when you make the adjustments on a bedrock, your blade does go down and protrude out a bit more. So you got to be careful with that. You don't want to crash your blade into the front. Yeah, that's getting really close. That may be too close. Just a little bit more back. That should do it. I have to get me a longer screwdriver. All right, that's done. That's where we want to be. Very nice. So, last one. Everybody. This being mine, I will address this chip breaker the way I want it. I'm just going to polish that nose off just a little bit. That'll do. As to sharpening, follow the protocol. Got to make sure that your blade is resting properly in the honing guide. Cryogenic blade. All that means is that the hardening process, they used liquid nitrogen to bring the temperature of the steel down. Which moves the molecules of the steel around. And I guess metallurgists have found that that makes a big difference. All right. This took an edge really quick. It's 01. I believe it's cryogenic 01 tool steel. And if you have watched any of my videos, you know that I like 01 tool steel. I don't mind the A2, but if I have a choice in the matter, I'd order 01. And I had a long discussion with someone who at the current moment shall remain nameless, but he owns a tool cut, or how shall I say this, a cutting tool manufacturing company, and had a long conversation on 01 versus A2, and A2 with some of the new alloys, the chromium and the vanadium and the different levels and the hardening process. And so we had a pretty good conversation. And he was trying, and he almost convinced me that the A2 is perfectly fine if you have the right A2 and you treat it properly. And I've used one of his blades. It's a good piece of steel. I like 01. Sorry, guys. Now, the new Magna Cut, that's an interesting steel, and that is a powdered metal steel. So here we go again. Some honing compound. Pull that ever so slight burr off the back. And that's done. And that's done. So that's it. The last one has been initialized. Now, while I am not a fan of these modern cap irons, also known as chip breakers, I would like to caution you not to fettle with them too much. Why is that, Walter? Because they are so precision made that the likelihood of me or you improving on them much is slim. I just wish that they would add just a little more spring to it. That's all. Is it too much for a guy to ask? Just a little more spring to it. All right, we're all set with this now. The Clifton, 4.5. Wide smoother. Jumbo smoother. Monster smoother. I know I didn't do this on the other planes, I forgot. Getting fuzz. Just about even. Back it up just a little bit. Super fine. No cut. No cut. Tiny little bit. No cut. Hardly any cut. Super fine. That's done. C'est fini, everybody. Finished. There's the lineup. 8. Count them 8. In the next video, I'm going to do a small demonstration of what my expectation for those planes will be. And I will be using my number 4. It's already set up, ready to go. So come on back for that one. And then after that will be the shootout. And I think we're going to do the shootout in stages. one versus another, one versus another, one versus another, so that the video doesn't end up being an hour long like this one. Like, subscribe, and share, and thanks for stopping by. May you have a blessed day. Walter out.